Welcome to Mastering Life's Adventures, an educational podcast about tapping into your true self, the soul, the substance of your life, to discover what life's ups and downs are really about, and how to have a greater sense of purpose, peace, joy, and fulfillment. I am Dr. Judith Holder, your host, coach, psychologist, fellow seeker who enjoys diving into the connections between spirituality, psychology, wellness, and your everyday life's adventures. All preparing and polishing you like the facets of a magnificent diamond to be your best self. If you're craving more from your life, you are in the right place. Come, let's journey together and transforming what you know into who you really are. Mastering Life's Adventures begins now.
Hi, I'm back. I'm back to talk about the next simple key to soul progress, which is cultivating joy. We don't think always about how we can cultivate joy. We tend to look at it as maybe just being there, like water. But it can be like water seeping through our hands or slipping through our hands. We have to be able to think about, why would joy be important to the soul? I have some thoughts about that, but first I want to talk about, I'm not just talking about happiness, which is when an event happens to us and then we get happy. It's an aspect of joy, and some people think that happiness is an aspect of joy, and joy is an aspect of happiness, and so it's interchangeably. When I want to talk about this whole notion of joy, I'm not saying joy just because we got a special gift, or joy because an event happened to us. We had a surprise birthday party. And yes, we may experience some joy, but most people think of that as happiness because it's an event. It's short-lived. What I'm talking about and I'm interested in is joy as it relates to the soul, and also the longer aspects of happiness. It's like a lifelong, lasting happiness and satisfaction in our life. And I think joy is a state that we can develop and cultivate within ourselves. Even the serious of the serious, and I can be in that category of being serious at times, when things need to get done and I need to keep focused on those things, and I perfectly understand that. But regardless of where you're at in the continuum from being silly to serious, we can still cultivate the flame of joy. When I think about joy, other kind of qualities, or I guess I would call it qualities, or attributes is another word. One of the qualities or attributes that focuses around joy that people sometimes use interchangeably is contentment, pleasure. It can be qualities of gratitude, and also what I've been saying before about happiness. And why is joy so important? Joy is known as the motor of life. It's kind of in your vehicle. You have a motor. And if you don't have that motor, if someone takes it, that vehicle or that car is not going to go anywhere. And you can have different high-powered levels of vehicles that go very, very quickly, or ones that, like a horse and buggy, they don't have an engine in it at all. And so there's different degrees of which I think joy can be with us. And we want to be able to have joy that is consistent, that is regular, that is within, and not based upon only events that happen externally to us, bringing us joy. That's why I think sometimes people may think, well, I'm just not a joyful person. I'm more serious, or I feel myself getting more sad, or I find that I'm more anxious in situations. But one of the things about joy, when we start to cultivate it, it starts to act as a buffer to those qualities and those states of being that we don't need to be in, or at least we don't need to be in for extended periods of time. It does require the quality of cultivation of joy to be more of a state of being, a regular aspect of who you are and how you show up. And you don't have to be the joy bubbling all the time, and that's fine if people are bubbly. And you don't have to be the joy in which it's only a small measure and once in a while in which you're showing joy. What we want to do is have it as a state of being, that we're constantly allowing ourselves to be more joyful in thought, joyful in words, joyful in deeds, because it helps the soul to also be cultivated. There's greater harmony where there is joy. But sometimes, because of so much of a mixture of life that we go through, it can be some bad times to okay times to good times to great times that we go through in terms of the ups and downs of living of life, which we all have, me included. I have my ups and I have my downs. And what I have found in my life, that there's certain degrees in which I find when I have my downs, and I just had a recent situation in which brought me down, but I realized when I started doing some of the qualities I'm going to be talking about later, that those qualities helped to switch the gear, helped me to move into a higher gear. And that's what we want to be able to do. So it's not a matter of if you're going to have a bad experience or a traumatic experience or a negative experience or these kind of weird experiences. We do have them. We do have them. And we do need to heal from them. We also need to be intentional about moving ourselves to the next level, to the next gear within ourselves. So I'll get to that in a minute. I had talked about, I guess it was episode 15, about gold, G-O-L-D, and how within the dark strands of the fabric of who we are, there's this gold fabric. So these are there, and within, should I say that differently? Within the fabric, the gold, which I had said back then, was the glory of love's divinity. Within us, there are these dark strands. That's probably the better way of saying it. And it's these dark strands that we're learning how to dissolve, transmute, pull out of the fabric. So the fabric of the trueness of who we are and our soul, which is gold, the glory of love in our life, the glory of love's divinity, G-O-L-D. When we are having that more into the fabric of who we are, then we will find that we oscillate at a different frequency and vibration, that we can tap into the joy in every situation that we find ourselves in. And that's what we're trying to do, is to tap in through the joyful experiences, the cultivating of those experiences, to help us during the times that we have down times, not so great times. Something had happened at work that doesn't make us feel so great, or someone ended up taking on a project that we really want to take on, or we had an argument with a loved one or a family member or partner that really was pulling us down because we didn't like what was said, we don't like our part in it, we don't like their part in it, and having this argument, and so we're just feeling lousy. And we have to be willing to say, okay, I didn't do that right, I didn't say that right, and how can I change and apologize if that's required, and look for what's the lesson to be learned in the experience. What is it that I'm learning about myself, about the situation, about the person that can be of value to me, so that you're not allowing these negative experiences to usurp your joy. Because joy is a vibration, a frequency of light. And the more lightness that we can be, the more we find that we can be like that cork on water, just moving through the experience and not being pulled down, pulled into the tidal wave of that experience, or pulled into the deep ocean of whatever that experience is, and keeping us locked into the deep ocean and not being able to take a breath. So we want to let go of that experience that is keeping us down. And so that ball can go back to the surface and live life in a light way. But we don't realize joy ultimately is a deeper quality and a deeper state. That divinity that exists within us wants us to always be at. So joy is a form of celebration, of cheer, of being happy. As we said that word, because joy can be within happiness and happiness can be within joy. They're similar, they're a little bit different. But these are some of the things that we have to be aware of. Joy embraces humor and laughter and chuckling about a situation. We just find amusing or we find funny of something that happened, as long as it's not involving hurting someone or seeing someone hurt in some particular way. We don't want that type. That's not really true joy. But joy is being able to find some levity in some of the difficulties that we experience, and we can see the light in that experience. We can know that God was giving us an opportunity to learn something from that experience. Joy warms the heart, and it settles us when we're feeling that there's the hailstorm and the snow and the sleet and the hurricanes that are coming our way that's getting us off kilter and making us feel terrible that we didn't meet the deadline that we needed for that particular project at work or at home. We ended up forgetting entirely that we needed to be someplace at a certain time. Now the person is angry at us, for that, and now we're feeling guilty for that. It's like you're cultivating joy in the midst of these experiences, which I'm going to talk about maybe 8-9 ways you can be able to do that. That cultivates your soul's evolution and continue to grow. But we're just talking about now, my opinion, about cultivating joy. And for some, it's easy. And for others, it may require more effort that eventually becomes effortless. And it may require a change in attitude, perspective, and even behavior. Because what God ultimately wants for us is that we're continuously refining ourselves, moving that gold, as I talked about earlier, which is the glory of love's divinity, to expand within us, to be of service to others, to be aware of when we're falling out of warp and when we need to move back into God's warp of how he wishes us to do. It's like on Star Trek. They fell out of warp, went into 2, and then they speeded back up and went to 18 or whatever number it was. How do we get back to that frequency in a quick way? It does require awareness of self, awareness of how you're thinking about something, what are you focusing on, who you really are. It does require for you to be aware, as I talked about in July, about worthiness. You are worthy. You are worthy in God's eyes for love, light, harmony, peace. You are worthy of the love and joy that you want to have in your life. And we always have these pesky gnats that want to tell us, no, you're not. Remember when you did this? When you did that? Do you remember how that person spoke with you? Do you remember how you didn't have this or that, or you didn't have the financial means or whatever? Well, that was because you weren't worthy. That's not true. That's not true. Those are life experiences that are being given to us as opportunities to, as they say, make lemonade out of lemons. So when you're thinking about cultivating joy, think about it like a garden. And in that garden, you may have different types of flowers. I don't care if you're male or female. We all have a garden that exists within us. And we do have different types of flowers that we're cultivating, or qualities that allow us to be a unique aspect of God's awareness of himself in us. So your tulips or your roses, your irises, whatever you want to have, but we also have to be aware of the fact they're weeds. And we want to be able to take the weeds away, use whatever we need to be alert and aware to negative thinking and ways in which we're being critical of ourselves and ways in which we are feeling guilty for something that I say is just another form of punishment, that we make to say, okay, what do we need to do about that situation? Correct it in the way you need to correct it, but don't allow it to lay on you and stick to you and follow you or wherever you go. No, you don't want to move, as I was said into my September podcast, live in Regretville, where if you're living in Regretville, you can't be joyous. It's kind of mediocre living. You don't want to live in the past. Yes, we all make mistakes. We've got to learn from those mistakes, but we need to move forward out of the town of Regretville. And when we are doing that, we're moving towards a focus. And we all need to have goals. We all need to have focuses in our life that say, this is what I'm heading towards. I'm going due north, due south, due east, or due west. I'm going in a direction, and this is my focus. And your focus, what we're talking about today, is on joy and cultivating joy. Not assuming that it's just going to just appear. There's some people that are more joyful. Yes, and that's great. But the majority of us, we have joys at periodic points in our life. But as I stated earlier, we want to be in a state of joy. And that state is that every day we're finding something to be joyful about. And we feel it in the vibration. We feel it in our being because we feel more harmony and peace and contentment when we are feeling joy. Wouldn't you say that's correct? It's joy that can be in small and unassuming and disarming ways that we're experiencing joy. It doesn't have to be these grandiose types of events or situations that happen around us. Because ultimately, if joy is a state of being, then it means it's within you. And what state are you being within yourself? How are you expressing joyfulness and joy? Joy is like the manna for the soul. It's like the manna for the soul. It's a substance that the soul eats and enjoys, because as you heard me say in all these episodes, your soul, the substance of your life, and joy gives you that substance that helps to expand and helps you to grow and helps you to advance in your life in ways that you don't even know, because it's just now become so natural to who you are to be in a flow of being joyful. Being in a flow of another quality, which I'll talk about in a minute a little bit more, of gratitude in your life. I'm not saying, life doesn't have its ups and downs. It certainly does. I know I've had my fair share of ups and downs, especially more recently in my life. But you don't stay there. It's like go back, the cork in water. It doesn't pull you down. Instead, you stay up. You bounce back up. You move forward in your life. So what are the different ways that you can cultivate joy? And that's what I want to talk more about. So the first way we can cultivate joy is see the past from a different vantage point. It's as if you shift your frame of reference of some of the things that have happened to you that have been negative situations or events or threats to your own well-being that is taken. And that can be in the form of devastating news, health challenges, relationship breakups, loss of a loved one. There could be many challenges that happen to us that want to keep us situated in the past. But do we need to shift our frame of reference? Every experience, for those who are walking a spiritual path, every experience is trying to always help us learn and grow. And sometimes it's really painful. I get it. But what we're trying to do is look for that gold lining. Look for the gold lining in the situation. How did this pain, this difficulty help me to grow? Or we ask the Lord to show us how you're helping me and to grow in this situation. Because you've heard me say this before. God didn't say things were going to be peaches and roses and everything's always going to be great. God did say, I will always be with you. For those who are walking a spiritual path and are committed to that path, I will be always with you, helping you, guiding you, directing you, if you ask of me to do that. We want to, whatever those experiences are that we're having, we ask for God's awareness of what we need to do. And we also ask God to place his presence of joy around us, like a warm blanket, around our heart, around our being, and helping us move through the situation that we find ourselves in. So that's one thing to think about. The other is, we don't live enough in the moment. Yes, living in the moment helps to cultivate joy. When you notice the breeze on your face, a warm breeze on your face, and you just close your eyes and you experience it and say, wow, this is nice. Or you see a sunset, or you see a star that's twinkling, in the heavens. And you say, wow, that's pretty impressive. It seems so big. That you can see and adore something that brings some measure of joy to your heart. But we have to be able to slow down. And that means sometimes slowing down the mind, and it's racing forward or racing backward, thinking about the past. We need to slow down our body and always on the go to situations. And we need to slow down our heart, because sometimes this angst and living in this fast-paced world makes us angst and always kind of nervous and unsettled. We need to breathe in. We need to breathe out. We need to say, God, fill me with your peace. Fill me with your joy. And when we do that and take a moment, and even if it's just 1 nanosecond to be able to do that, that leads us on the path to more of being joyous in the things that we do. That slowing down also has an impact on the next quality I want to talk about, which is around the chatter that happens in our mind, the things that go on and on and on. It's like a chatterbox. Our mind can be like a literally chatterbox, always chatting about something. And we have to close down or slow down the chatter, turn it off for a little bit, even if it's just for a few minutes, so that we can experience the now. When there's always noise and chatter, external noise or internal chatter going on, we get off center, and our soul is off center because it hasn't had the space and the opportunity to be fully with you in the now, because you're blocking it through the chatter. You're blocking it to the distractions that are taking place. And it matters. The more that you can reduce the mind and just say, this is just chatter. Peace be still to your mind and to your heart and to your being. And take a few minutes just to do some deep breathing to settle the mind. It can be very powerful. It gets back into all that notion of mindfulness, reflections and meditations that you can do. There's plenty of them on the web. It's also the next quality I want to talk about here, and of the 8 to 9 areas, that how you can help to cultivate joy in your life and have it as a more regular aspect of who you are, is noticing how you chastise yourself. This is different from chatter. This is chastising yourself. How you find yourself having these little arguments in your mind of how you could have done it better and what this person said to you. And what are you going to do next time when that goes on? And when you did something wrong and you have this chastising of yourself, this negative speak of yourself for doing it wrong, or now you're in big trouble, now the lawyers are after you, or now you've got the speeding ticket, or now what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's like this ongoing chastisement on yourself. It's like, stop it. Stop. Yeah, I may have done something wrong. Yeah, I may have been able to do it better, and I could have put more effort into something. But I don't need for this ego persona, which you've heard me talk about before, get in there and badger me. No, I am a Christed one. I follow the path of Christ, of Buddha, or Master that is important to you. Mother Teresa. I follow her way of being, or his way of being, or Christ's way of being, and that is not continuous chastisement of myself. So you have to find a way to see when this energy is rearing its head and it wants to be negative, and telling you how bad you are. So no. One time's enough. I don't need to have it as a serial thing going on in my mind, in my heart, in my being, and in my world. No, it only usurps the soul's energy. It doesn't help the soul to continue to make progress. It literally puts a weight on the soul. And you say, I'm not going there anymore. I'll make the changes I need to make. I'll make the corrections I need to make. Okay. It may require some pain and what I have to be able to do with that. Okay, let me do it. Let me get it over with. And then the fifth is we want to be able to be appreciative and express gratitude for all the experiences coming our way and seeing them as opportunities. All the experiences coming our way and seeing them as opportunities. And when those experiences come our way because we didn't get the promotion that we wanted, or we didn't get the recognition we thought we were going to get in a particular project that we engaged in, or our spouse or partner is thinking that we are not ever going to do anything right, we have to say, I'm going to flip this. And I'm going to say, God, I'm grateful for your presence. I'm grateful for this experience. What do you want me to learn? And sometimes it may be basic things like be consistent in what you do, at home or at work. It can be basic to something like, why are you looking for so much outside yourself for that person to give you recognition? And it may be pulling you away from being a people pleaser and being more centered and pleasing the Lord. Pleasing God, pleasing your I am presence, your Creator, Christ. Be more Christ-like in how you think and how you behave. So we see appreciativeness so fundamental and important to the ongoing flow of cultivating joy in our life. And sometimes it is really helpful with the sixth one is that we need to surround ourselves with comrades of like-minded people that are joyful, that are willing to call us out when we're falling off the cliff and say, you're not going off the cliff, to pull you back and say, what can you see in this experience that is joyful, harmonious, peaceful, that allows you to continue to grow? Now, that is not to say that we can have some life experiences in which we grieve the loss, we grieve the hurt, we grieve the disappointment, or the lack of promotion, or the loss of a loved one, or whatever it may be. There's a grieving process that, yes, we need to go through, but we don't need to stay down. We need to, at some point, turn the corner and be able to say, Lord, I am grateful for your presence in my life. I am grateful for having this person or this particular event in my life, and for it taught me blah, blah, blah. It allowed me to garner and see something about myself that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. We need to give praise and appreciation to the Lord for the good, the bad, and the indifferent. And what we're trying to do is change all experiences to move towards gold. 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 Glory of love's divinity. Loving something about the situation that we find ourselves in. And when we can love something about the situation, it's tantamount working together with joy. Even though you may be experiencing a life event or situation that feels very cumbersome and very weighing you down, within in the midst of that tornado that's spinning around and making havoc, around you and in your world, there's the I, the center, the quietness. We remain. It's where we're wanting to remain. We're wanting to be able to say through your prayers, through your devotions, through your readings, through the Bible, God, guide my way. It's like reading a passage that brings up joy, happiness in the midst of a storm that you may find yourself in. So with that, there is also approaching life's challenges through the lens that is helping you to develop your unique quality and character. That's the seventh. That is helping you to develop you more and your connection to your soul and your soul's progress as you're moving, navigating through different sleep. And the eighth, I want to kind of swing back to a little bit from a different vantage point, though, is making gratitude and praise a habit. Being thankful and humble for the things that are showing up in your life. Be it small or be it great. You're being dressed like thank you, Lord. Thank you for helping me in that situation. Have you ever had a situation in which you were driving and something happened and this person almost hit you and you didn't get hit? You know what? Do you ever say, thank you, Lord? Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for having your light around me. That's a wonderful thing to happen. We have these incidents that happen, and out of the blue, it happens. We need to say, God, that was your intervention. Thank you. I am grateful. We sometimes, when we get up in the morning and we're not feeling rotating all four cylinders, we need to be able to say, I choose to be happy. I choose to be joyful. Better yet, I like to use that. I choose to be joyful. And you start singing the praises of the Lord. Praise the Lord God Almighty. Praise for your presence in my life. Praise you for all you have done yesterday and this morning to allow me to get up, to breathe, to be able to have the capacity to have a clear mind and heart. Thank you. And even say, thank you, Lord, for unburdening my heart on this particular situation that I find myself in. We need to make sure we're just not seeing God as being on a bookshelf somewhere, that we're bringing God into our everyday life, allowing God's presence to be with us, allowing us to cultivate the nuances and the uniqueness of God's as He's building our character of who we really are. Just as there's no two snowflakes alike, there's no two individuals alike. We're all unique, and we want to use that uniqueness in the service of helping and giving in the community, at the church, or at any type of venue that you want to volunteer at. Cultivating the habit of joy means you're willing every day in every way to see a situation that there's a glimmer of joy. There's a glimmer of beauty in that situation. Or it may be big, it may be medium, it may be small, but you're willing to look from that lens, from that vantage point, to making it and knowing that you're cultivating the habit of joy. So the last one that I want to talk about that in this cultivating of joy is keeping a joyful journal. Keeping a joyful journal that reminds you of all that God has been doing in your life, that you want to be able to reflect on and go back to. So those times which is a little bit more rough, you can say, my God, I have a lot to be joyful. And then you can sing the praises of God and the praises of joy. Then you can sing the praises of God, getting back to that other quality of being able to look at gratitude and appreciation in your life for what is coming into your life. And also sometimes being able to ask God to send his joy, send his joyful angels to help you this day, to send the joy, because joy also helps us in the soul with clarity of mind, clarity of heart, clarity of being. So that there is not this static as in terms of that chatter. There is not this static in terms of the negative thinking. It is not this static for this emotional roller coaster that we can find ourselves on and living of life. And instead, what we find is, I choose joy. And I write these experiences down because it's great to be able to go back to and to be able to immerse yourself in all the wonderful things that God has placed in your world, has sent your way, has given you the opportunity to learn from. What do you think about that? And how might you cultivate more joy in your life? Give that some thought. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining me for this episode on Mastering Life's Adventures, being your best self through soul evolution. If you have enjoyed what you've heard today, I would be delighted if you would share this episode with others, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe to my Mastering Life's Adventures podcast. Look forward to your joining the next episode. Please leave any comments or suggestions you might have below. Bye for now.